Hi, it's Christine. So tonight I'm going to read The Little Mermaid. Actually, first, I want to say I actually made this shirt. This is one of the shirts that I made. So, yeah. All right, Little Mermaid. From deep underwater, a mermaid named Ariel noticed a ship sailing by above. Her father, King Triton, had warned her many times not to go to the ocean's surface. He thought humans were dangerous. But Ariel was fascinated by them. She even had a secret grotto where she kept a collection of human made treasures, such as candlesticks and pitchers. Sebastian, a crab who was the king's adviser, noticed the mermaid swimming to the surface. He called to her, but she ignored him. She wanted to know what was happening on the ship. At the surface, she saw a man being presented with a statue. The other sailors called him Prince Eric. Ariel sighed. The prince was incredibly handsome, and the statue looked just like him. Suddenly, the clouds in front of the moon thickened. A strong wind blew across the ocean, and lightning crackled in the sky. A hurricane a-coming! A sailor shouted. Waves washed over the deck, and the ship was tossed on the sea. Lightning struck the main mast and sent it crashing to the deck in flames. Soon the whole ship was on fire, then exploded, and Prince Eric was thrown overboard. Ariel swam toward the wreck. She had to find the prince and save him. She spotted him floating on a plank of wood. Just then, he slipped off the board and sank beneath the waves. Ariel dived after him and used all her strength to pull him to the surface. There she is saving the prince. Before long, the sky cleared and Ariel dragged the prince onto the beach. She watched over him, concerned. He's so beautiful, she whispered. Then she began to sing to him. Eric's eyes opened, and he caught sight of Ariel, but a second later she was gone. She had returned to the ocean, so he wouldn't find out that she was a mermaid. Later, the prince made his way back to the palace. A girl rescued me, he told his friend Grimsby. She was singing. She had the most beautiful voice. Meanwhile, beneath the waves, Ariel was thinking about Eric, too. She daydreamed and planned ways to see him again. The little mermaid was in love. Flounder, a blue and yellow fish who was Ariel's best friend, led her to the grotto to show her a surprise. It was a statue of Eric. "Oh, Flounder," she cried, "you're the best." Saving the prince. Ariel only had a few moments to admire the statue before her father stormed in. He found out that Ariel had been up to the surface, and he was furious. "Contact between the human world and the mer world is strictly forbidden," he told her. King Triton lifted his trident and at, took aim at the man-made objects. "Daddy, no!" Ariel cried. A golden ray shot out from the trident and destroyed a globe. Another blast shattered a candle drum, then a painting and some books. Finally, Triton turned his trident on the statue, which exploded into pieces. Ariel burst into tears. Her father didn't seem to understand how important these things were to her. "Just go away," she said. Ariel was hurt that her father had destroyed her treasures. She knew he would never allow her to see Eric, so she decided to go to Ursula, the sea witch. made a bargain with the mermaid. She would give Ariel legs for 3 days. During that time, Ariel had to get Eric to fall in love with her. If he kissed her, she would remain human. But if not, she would turn back into a mermaid and belong to Ursula for the rest of her life. You can't get something for nothing, the witch told her. What I want from you is your voice. Ursula took Ariel's voice and put it in her shell necklace. The mermaid would have to get Eric to kiss her without even speaking to him. Now human, Ariel swam to the beach. Her friend Scuttle, the seagull, found a ship's sail and some rope and made her a dress. Soon Eric discovered her. You seem very familiar to me, he said. Have we met? For a moment, Eric thought she had rescued him from the shipwreck, but then he realized she was unable to speak. Then you couldn't be who I thought, he said, disappointed. But he took Ariel back to his castle anyway. She tried to adjust life on land, but everything was so strange. She combed her hair with a fork and accidentally blew soot all over Grimsby's with a pipe. Eric couldn't help but laugh. Grimsby was glad to see the prince enjoying himself. You know, Eric, perhaps your young guest might enjoy seeing some of the sights of the kingdom, he suggested. It's not a bad idea, the prince turned to Ariel. Well, what do you say? Would you like to join me on a tour of my kingdom tomorrow? She nodded happily. It was like a dream come true. The next morning, the two of them set off in the royal carriage. Ariel was thrilled. The whole world around her was so exciting and new. She and Eric stopped for a puppet show in town. Ariel got a new hat, 2 loaves of bread, boots, and some flowers. A few hours later, they climbed back into the carriage. After Eric had been driving a while, Ariel took the reins. She snapped them sharply, and the horses took off. Ariel loved being human, and Eric was enchanted by her. There they are. On a rowboat in a quiet lagoon, Ariel and Eric watched the sun set. I feel bad not knowing your name, Eric said. Maybe I can guess. Is it Mildred? Diana? Ariel shook her head. Then Sebastian, who was keeping a close eye on the king's daughter, went to the side of the rowboat and whispered her name into Eric's ear. Ariel? The prince asked. She nodded and took his hand. Eric leaned in. Ariel closed her eyes and splash! Eric and Ariel toppled into the water. Ursula had sent her pet eels to overturn the boat. The sea witch would do whatever she could to keep the two from kissing. Whoa! Hang on, I've got you! Eric pulled Ariel back into the boat, but the romantic moment had passed. That night, Eric heard the voice of the girl who'd rescued him. He went to find her, and soon he had. She was named Vanessa. But the girl was really Ursula in disguise, using Ariel's voice to trick the prince into falling in love with her. By the next morning, word had spread around the kingdom. Eric was getting married to Vanessa. Oh. Ariel watched, heartbroken, as the wedding ship set sail. She never got to kiss Eric, and that night he would marry